Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be rebuilding the complete brake system on this 1978 BMW R100 RS. So the front brake calipers are sticking to the point where the front wheel doesn't turn without a pretty serious amount of effort, so it does not roll down the road very nicely, and the front brake rotors get very, very hot. Fortunately, they're not warped or anything, or at least not that I know of. We might find that out on a test drive. But the front calipers are hanging up and not allowing the pads to release. So we're going to rebuild both front brake calipers. These are the ATE 40mm calipers. We'll also replace the pads, and all the parts I use in this video I'll have linked below. So if you're doing the same job at home, you can get the same stuff I'm using. And then underneath the gas tank here is the brake master cylinder. So the brake master cylinder is leaking all over, and we got a brand new replacement master cylinder. So by the end of this video, this bike is going to have a completely brand new front brake system, from a brand new master cylinder to brand new rebuilt calipers, and it should be good as new. With all this fluid leaking all over, it's started to ripple up the paint, and the brake fluid has started to react with the paint here, so that's a dead giveaway that this is leaking. When I pulled the little boot off here, inside of here is all full of brake fluid and just nasty stuff. So we got a brand new brake master cylinder, and to get this undone, honestly, all it's held in with is a hose clamp. Undo 2 brake lines, undo the cable, and the cable's super easy. Just do one of these, and we'll have this thing underway. Kind of my first order of business to prevent a huge mess from happening. First off, notice the tire cap over the brake fluid. That's kind of funny. But just a 11mm wrench. We're going to loosen up the front caliper, both calipers, the brake bleeder, and just drain the fluid out, just because right now these calipers are going to be full of fluid, and when we relieve our brake line, it's just going to make a big mess. So I'm just going to use this is just a sucker, Mighty Vac brake fluid sucker. So loosen this up and just suck all the brake fluid out of the system. You can see the fluid coming out right there. And now we can just use a 10mm wrench to loosen up our brake line going to our front calipers. Also, I've upgraded. I had a couple guys actually in my last few videos comment about getting a Lamineer mic. So I got a Lamineer mic, and let me know how the audio how the audio looks on your end, because for whatever reason, I've just getting a lot of complaints about the audio being poor, and I want to give you guys the best viewing experience possible, so I went ahead and upgraded a mic. That kind of stuff is possible due to the members of the channel that support this channel, so I can upgrade my equipment and make a better viewing experience for you guys. So we got our brake line off, and now we can just go ahead and remove our caliper. It's pretty simple. There's a 19mm socket, or yes, a 19mm hex we're going to undo. So undo this right here, and then behind this is going to be like a little spring. So we take this out, take the spring out, set that aside. So then we're going to use a M8 by 1.25 bolt, and that just threads up in there. And then if everything goes smoothly, perfect. Look at that. This pin will just pull right out, and you can see that eccentric shape. So this is what you use to adjust your the way the caliper goes, and we'll go over all this later. And then now that all that's off of there, look at that. I can almost guarantee you that this front one was not the one that was dragging. And now we're going to do the exact same thing we did on that side to this side. So I'll kind of go over it in just do it in real time here. So we're going to undo our brake line. I'm using a 11mm wrench here. Get our brake line undone, and then once this is out of here, we can use a 19mm socket, undo the bottom here. Under this is going to be that spring that we talked about, and these calipers can be a little tricky even for being such a simple design. We're going to use this M8, go up in there. I don't have this loosened yet. 100% pull that pin through. And also, one thing to note is when I remove that other caliper, even with that pin out, you can see the wheel still turns pretty bad. So This is the sticking caliper. So I have that kind of loosened up. We're going to use this 11 mil and finish getting this out of here. And then once this is out, this caliper is just going to slide on out of here. There's little little like plastic bushings that allow it to kind of float within the fork. Those look like they're in pretty good shape and are not included in the rebuild kit. Those rarely ever wear out. So this is not coming out as easy as the other one. There. But now, if you look in here, you can see how hot those pads got. If you can see here, the paint from the pads has actually like melted. Same thing on the other side. So we're gonna end up doing, yeah, pads, everything. But man, these things are in a little rougher condition than I initially anticipated. With the brake calipers off, look how nice our front wheel rolls. So that eliminates our wheel bearings being an issue. If our wheel bearings were an issue, with the calipers off, we'd be able to go like this and it would not just coast like that. All right, now moving on to our front master cylinder. The brake lines here are the same 11 mil that we've been using. And then the hose clamp here. So this just comes off. It's just pretty much a standard hose clamp. Once that's loose, this all can kind of slide back on out of here. Take care of these connections back here. Just like that. And then get all this stuff out of the way. Fish your hose clamp through. And there's your old leaky master cylinder. So then we have the brake pressure switch transferred over, and then we'll reuse the hose clamp. So we'll just kind of reset this brake master cylinder in here. So then our push rod we'll put in first. That just goes right here and like that. And then our brake cable thing goes through like that. We can compress this. Should be compress it with your thumb and just lay it in there like that. And then when we're all said and done and everything's back together, we'll adjust our brake lever here. So now we're just going to get these two lines hooked up with that wrench. So now we're going to rebuild these front calipers on the tailgate of a truck next to a busy road. Pretty easy. So first step is just getting these brake pads out of here. So removing these clips, or I said clip. See how well this comes out of here. Yep. Get that out of there. These pads just come straight out like this. And there's a fun part coming up where we are going to use compressed air to blow this piston out, because it's likely that piston is seized. Geez, that's real bad. You can see just how bad it really is inside there. It's real crusty. So now to get these pistons out, honestly, I'm just going to use a wrench. You can use a block of wood, you can use a rag, you can use whatever you'd like. I don't know if a wrench is going to be the best idea, but we'll see. So just like that. Don't get your finger between there, because that will not be fun. Put compressed air into this port right here. And just look how bad that is under there. Jeez. So these calipers might need some extra love, but let's get it the rest of the way out of there. I'm going to just put something like a rag or something on the other side of this. Or actually, I might just use my tailgate like that. And boom, look at that. I mean, we're replacing the piston anyway, but man, that thing's in real rough shape. Look at that. And then get this out of here. The seal's just tearing out of here. We're going to have to get a pick tool in here to get all these seals out, and then likely have to hone out the inside of this caliper. And I'm just using a 90-degree pick tool here, and I can dig this seal out of here pretty easy. Just get your tool on the other side of it. You can just pull the seal out like that. And then there's the seal right here. That's in real rough condition. We're going to get all this stuff out and get this whole area all cleaned up. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to skip the whole wrench part and just shoot it out here. Like I said, the rebuild kit we got has all brand new pistons and seals and everything. So the only component that we're not replacing is literally the body of the caliper. Boom, that one was less violent as the other one, which makes for less fun. All right, so now we have our calipers all cleaned up, and I know these calipers probably don't look anything near to what they were before, but that's why we just spent a couple hours cleaning them. So anyway, as far as going back together, what we're going to do, we're going to use a lot of grease on these seals, and we'll do the piston and everything first. We'll do the calipers first, and then we'll get all the piston and all that stuff. So we're just going to coat the seal up here with grease. Seal's just a square, and that goes in this furthest notch in here. So you just kind of put it up in there, and then work it around until it lays in there, all nice, just like that. And then we'll do that to the other side. So now I'll put some grease on this piston here. That was probably too much, but we'll share this between the two pistons. And there's no left or right, don't worry about that. This seal can then go over the piston, and the outer lip on here on this seal is kind of has like a metal ring. So that kind of needs to be make sure the outer edge of this seal is nice and greased up, and then the inside of the caliper is also greased up, because it's going to take a little bit of force to get that in there. So I'll just put a little grease on my finger, and this is just normal, I don't know what kind of grease this is, Loctite LB 8034. It's what I always use. It works really well. It's not gonna interfere with any brake fluid or react with anything. It's just grease, normal grease. So that goes in there, and then what we're going to do, get this piston installed, and then it should, when you get it all centered in there, it should very easily just push down just like that. Ready? Super nice. And then this seal needs to be kind of aligned with the body of the caliper, and you can just use your thumbs and work your way around and get this seal driven in. So you just get the seal driven in like that and make sure it's flush all around, and we'll do that same thing to the other caliper. And again, with your thumb, you should be able to just get it aligned straight and then pushed right in like that. And then you can work this seal around with your thumb. May require a little bit of force, but what you're doing is just trying to work around the seal and get it flush with the body there. So now we're all cleaned up, and we can go ahead and put our brake pads on. So if you notice, one of these brake pads has a little O-ring, the other one doesn't. The one with the O-ring, with the arch of the brake pad going towards the top of the caliper, goes in right here, and then that little O-ring should compress and just kind of snap, I guess, down nicely into that piston, just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing to this side, but this side doesn't have an O-ring, and instead it has a little clip. So we put the pads just like that, with these kind of engaged into the caliper, and then this way put this clip down and just snap it in, so that clip kind of pulls the pad towards the caliper here. And then we can go ahead and slide our shiny brand new rebuilt caliper in here. And when doing so, obviously we got brand new pads, our caliper and everything's all brand new. Just tuck this all back, and we'll just go ahead and get the brake line started by hand first. And then once that's started, we will slide our eccentric pin up the caliper here. Get our brake lines tightened, and if you guys have a caliper or anything like that at home, and you're watching this video and you're not quite sure if you're ready to tackle a job like this, just shoot me an email and we can set up, you can send me your caliper and I will ship it back looking just like this one. So all clean and new piston, seals, everything, pads, the whole nine. And another thing to mention is I have an abundance of the BMW guy sweatshirts because I made a bunch of them and I didn't sell any of them. So if you want a BMW guy hoodie, just write a comment below, like this video, and I'll be picking a random like and comment, and I'll just send them a message. You guys send me an email and I'll get you off a free sweatshirt. So all you have to do to get a free sweatshirt is like and comment below, and I will pick a random comment, just one, and I'll get a sweatshirt off to you. We can go ahead and put brake fluid in our front master cylinder, brand new. A long time ago, a coworker taught me to keep brake fluid in these. This is just a nitro RC car, like a gas tank filler. So I keep brake fluid in it. It's resistant to the brake fluid, and it makes light work of filling up master cylinders without spilling. So fill it up with brake fluid, and then we'll just traditionally bleed the brakes. I'll kind of walk you through that. I'm going to use a vacuum bleeder, and then the hard part will begin, where we adjust our calipers to ride within our brake discs, and with that is going to come major stopping power and hopefully an overall better feel of the bike. So we got our vacuum bleeder hooked up. So what I'm going to do is open up the brake bleeder, and then while the vacuum bleeder is sucking fluid out of the caliper, we're just going to keep our new master cylinder up here topped off with brake fluid. This is just going to fill the caliper, make sure the lines are free of air bubbles, and then I'm going to quickly stop this, come down here, shut the caliper off, pull this, and now this side is bled. So we're going to head around, do the same thing to the other side, come back to this side, and then go back to that side. So now that we have our calipers bled, what we're doing now is you can see how that eccentric screw kind of moves the caliper in like a weird in and out pattern, we'll say. So what we're going to do is just use a Sharpie and just make a solid line across the rotor. This other side is going to be a little bit more difficult to dial in just due to the the brake lever being on the opposite side, but I can tell that the brake caliper is rubbing just because I just spun it through, and you can see it smeared on the line there. So I already know that the caliper down here is out of adjustment. So we're going to thread this bolt in there, and I'm just going to adjust this ever so slightly. So I'm putting pressure on the front brake with my right hand and spinning it with the left, and I'm going to drag it through that Sharpie mark right there. You can see I got plenty of surface contact up top, plenty of on the bottom. Again, that was just my first time through. So let's just make a random adjustment. I'm just going to move it a little bit and draw another line and see if it gets any better. But the lever feels really nice. Oh yeah, you can tell. Definitely pushing a lot on the bottom. Has a nice wide surface contact on top. So honestly, I'm going to leave it right there and take it for a ride, and then after the ride, look at these marks again. And one other thing to notice is how well this wheel rotates after the rebuild and everything. And when you push on the lever, it's super, super good. So this customer's gonna be really, really happy on how his brakes perform. And then that cap snugged up. And then when we take it for a ride, what I'm gonna do is I'll just draw another line on the rotor, another line right here on the rotor, and then we'll take it for a ride. And when we get back from the ride, we'll just check in on our brakes and see where the pads are riding. So then after a nice ride, you can tell our Sharpie marks there have been completely wiped away clean. And that tells us that our pads are riding right in the middle of our brake rotor. thank you so much for watching my brake rebuild tutorial video. Now, if this video helped you out in any way, please consider donating to the channel. You can donate to the channel by hitting the join button. That's the kind of stuff that keeps videos like this coming. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And as always, have a safe ride.